chances are if you're watching this, you're probably a Stranger Things fan, or you're into trying to watch theory videos. It's your lucky day, because I too am a Stranger Things fan, and I'm coming to you today with a lot of theories. See what you think. Feel free to debate in my comment section. I don't care. These are my Stranger Things theories. They are somewhat based on canon, somewhat based on just some fun ideas that I had pop into my head. Start out with probably a crazier theory that I've come up with, and I'm going to call this theory the dollhouse theory. Basically, in the scene with Elle and Mike, whenever they're talking before the crawl, Mike states that in a typical game of D&D, whenever the party has a victory, they usually have to leave the place that they've been, in this case it being Hawkins, where bad things have happened and there's like bad stuff tied to the place, and they go to a new place where nothing bad has happened yet. It's clear that Vecna is using the children, the 12 kids, as a sort of power source, and he is able to manipulate what they're seeing. We see that with how the Creel house currently looks to the kids. After we saw the Creel house in season 4, does not look like that. I believe that in the end, Vecna can make the entire party think that they've won, all while actually having them trapped, like how they have the kids trapped, and continuing to use them as a source of power and only making himself stronger. Think like the movie Don't Worry Darling with Florence Pugh and Harry Styles. Their physical body is in the real world while they're living in some kind of simulation world. In this theory, their body would be trapped where we're currently seeing that, like the kids and Holly. I think that he can make them think that they won and they had a victory, but in the end he's still pulling the strings and like they're his puppets or living in his dollhouse. So that's theory number 1. The next theory that I have is what we're going to call the Tesseract theory. The Tesseract theory is inspired by the book that is mentioned a lot already in season 5, A Wrinkle in Time. I highly recommend, if you've not read this book, to give it a chance. This was one of my favorites growing up, and there are a lot of references in this season so far. I'm going to tell you about the Tesseract. The Tesseract is used in this book and movie to essentially hop from one time/dimension to another and help the person travel. There is a being from a higher dimension, it, that builds a tesseract that allows them to view time as like a physical dimension, which is Camazotz. Theory is that each child in Stranger Things that is being held by Vecna currently is serving as a power source for each hour of time on the clock, which will help to create a wormhole, which the wormhole theory is mentioned by Mr. Clark, which will allow for a bridge, that's the name of the bridge, is the name of one of the episodes, between dimensions, and will allow for manipulation in time, leading to the ability to go travel between Hawkins, the Upside Down, Dimension X, potentially opening the door to future and other dimensions and timelines, possibly. This will tie into another theory that comes up. Possibly allowing for things to be corrected that went wrong in the past, or just time travel in general, introducing that to Stranger Things. The Tesseract functions similarly to the wormhole theory, so I think that it'll be used to time travel in Stranger Things in order to mend things and prevent a potential apocalyptic Hawkins. Theory number 3 is short and sweet. The doomed duo theory. There are several pairings of characters that I could see this happening with. Number 1 for me right now is Jonathan and Nancy. I think that they are kind of the doomed duo right now. They already have trauma together. They've already been through a lot of bad things together. There's the introduction of the ring that we know Jonathan has now. I think there's a real chance that this duo could be dying together. Another duo is Robin and Steve. Season 3, they are trapped by the Russians, nearly die, they're drugged. I think there's a potential of being doomed. Steve and Dustin keep making references. If you die, I die. They made that reference season 3, and now in season 5, there's a callback. So I'm a little worried for them. Another duo, Hopper and Joyce, I think there is a potential. I don't think that that's very likely, but it's there. Will and Mike, I think, could be very likely, or at least a very close, like near death. Elle and Kali, her sister, I think that they could die together. Lucas and Max, I really don't want them to die, but I really do feel like they are high up there on the list for me, unfortunately. Theory number 4, we have the Horcrux theory. Harry Potter and Stranger Things have a lot of parallels. I'm going to go into those right now. Harry Potter, there are 7 Horcruxes, and first one being Tom Riddle's diary, which is created after Moaning Myrtle is killed. The parallel to that would be Patty Newby, who is Henry's first love. We learned about her in the play on Broadway. The next one from Harry Potter is Marvolo Gaunt's ring, which is something that was created after Voldemort, aka Tom Riddle, killed his father. So the parallel to that would be the Creel family. The Creel family was killed by Henry. Obviously, you know that Victor Creel lived. The next Horcrux is Slytherin's locket. If you look into each one, I recommend that you look into what each one means. It parallels to Henry's pocket watch in season 5. The next Horcrux is Helga Hufflepuff's cup. I think that this parallel would be Max, because she holds the knowledge of Henry having a weakness to the cave. She essentially is going to help the others escape. We know that it can be gathered from context clues. She is the cup because at the end of the day she has that weakness that she knows of, and she kind of has that one up on him. The next is Ravenclaw's diadem. This represents ambition and intellect and heritage and the ultimate pursuit of knowledge. And so I think that this is the spyglass that Holly uses because it leads her to Max, who will eventually help her escape Camazotz. The next one is Nagini, the snake. This is Voldemort's snake and another one of the Horcruxes. It is a living Horcrux, and it is symbolizing his monstrous nature and connected to Slytherin. And it is destroyed by Neville Longbottom, so I feel like the equivalent to Neville Longbottom would be Dustin in this universe. And I think that this monster, or symbolism of the monstrous nature, would be the Mind Flayer. So I think somehow Dustin is going to defeat the Mind Flayer, potentially, and that his grief with Eddie is going to actually make him stronger and help him take out the Mind Flayer. I like that theory. The next theory is the A Wrinkle in Time theory. So there are 3 kind of major themes in this book and movie: good versus evil, conformity versus individuality, and then love as a power or driving force for the plot and for the characters. It's like a powerful, like, power source for them. There are many parallels between the plot in A Wrinkle in Time and then Stranger Things season 5. The disappearance of Holly Wheeler. Mysterious visitors are Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Witch. You can look up who they each stand for, what they bring to the story. I'm going to tell you who is that character in Stranger Things. Mrs. Whatsit would be Max, to me. Mrs. Who would be Mike. Mrs. Witch is Elle. I feel like you could also argue that Mrs. Witch is Elle and Will. In the book A Wrinkle in Time, on a stormy night, does that ring a bell? A stormy night, these beings arrive and reveal the existence of a Tesseract. It reminded me of season 1, whenever they meet Elle. I don't know if that's supposed to tie into it, that just reminded me of that. So Holly and Max are joining forces to escape Camazotz. Camazotz is a place enslaved by a disembodied brain known as It, or in this case, Vecna, which enforces oppressive conformity. Vecna uses his abilities to manipulate people and use their things that they consider weaknesses that are just different about them, and he targets them based off of how they feel towards themselves about that thing. The next plot point, the rescue. Max helps Holly and the other kids escape, And then the other plot point, love conquers all, and I think this is very evident whenever Will gets his powers and like he has the memories about meeting Mike for the first time, building Castle Byers with Jonathan, and ultimately it unleashes his powers at the end of Volume 1. This theory is a little crazy, but I think it's interesting. It is the Back to the Future theory. There are a lot of references to classic 80s films throughout the show, so I was like, I'm just gonna dig into this and see what comes of it. In Stranger Things, in the prologue play about Henry Creel's life, it's evident that he and a lot of the Stranger Things kids' parents knew each other, because in the flyer that Max picks up in Volume 1, it shows several of their parents' names, as well as the fact that Henry was in a play with them on November 6th of the year that was shown, which is the exact same date that Will went missing in the 80s. My theory is that something went wrong at some point during that play that ultimately led to Henry having some sort of malice towards the parents of the children, thus wanting to like punish them in the future. So my theory is that, like Back to the Future, there will be an element of time travel to try to fix any wrongdoings, which will then lead to a lot of things never happening, aka Vecna never becoming a thing, and certain people never meeting or dying, and certain events never even happening. This will also be kind of a negative thing because it will set some characters back. There will be certain character developments that never happen. Steve, for example, like, he will probably continue to be a jerk because he never went through the things that helped him get out of that behavior. Okay, now this is probably my craziest theory. This popped in my brain one night while I was rewatching, and I don't know, there's just certain things that popped out to me as I watched this specific portion of the show. My theory is that Sarah Hopper's daughter could be alive. In the scene where I'm going to insert a photo, she kind of freezes in what seems to be more fear than anything, and I'm wondering if she might have seen something, like either a supernatural being or she had powers potentially, and I think that Dr. Brenner could have found out about that and figured out a way to make it look like she died, like fake her death, similar to how Will's body is found and his death was faked in season 1. When Eleven was still in the lab, and whenever Henry was still in the lab, that obviously Sarah had died years before that. So my theory is that Sarah has some sort of connection to the supernatural world, whether it's like she's seeing things, she has some kind of eventual powers. I think that Dr. Brenner could have noticed some behaviors in her that pointed to her potentially having some kind of power. I think that with Henry being there, and maybe he had the little like power suppressor taken out to help Dr. Brenner in manipulating the mind of Hopper, convince him that his daughter died. And yeah, so Hopper was obviously on some substances in season 1 that you can notice throughout that season, which I think will make it easier to manipulate someone's psychological state, which Henry can do. So what if he used his power to basically make Hopper think that he saw his daughter die, only to cover up that she was taken to the lab for studying and for using her powers? Let me know what you guys think of these theories. I think that it's fun to talk about these, even if people don't agree with the theories. So I love yapping. Thank you for watching. This is probably one of the longest videos that I've made in a really long time, but I had a lot of fun, and I would love to talk more, so come chat.